Hello everyone, my name is Nicole Matheson. Welcome back to my channel. Today I will be doing a video that has been highly requested. I can't believe that I'm actually saying that. I never thought I'd get any form of engagement on this platform, but I have. And that video is a day in the life of a public affairs officer. And without further ado, let's get into it. So just a quick overview of what we'll be going over today is public affairs, its responsibilities, its role in the Air Force. I will also be going into why I chose public affairs and some lessons that I have learned along the way. One of my responsibilities as a public affairs officer in training right now is briefing all of the newcomers the right start briefing for public affairs. So I'm reading straight off of the definition that we briefed to them, and I'll expound on it a little bit. So PA achieves Air Force mission objectives via timely dissemination of accurate and useful information through various forms of communication. Bottom line up front, it is our job to tell the taxpayer how their tax dollars are getting spent with accurate information and as soon as possible. It's not our job to misinform or to mislead. Our job is to deliver the truth and do it in a timely manner so we get a hold of the narrative and we get ahead of any misinformation or disinformation that may lead our audiences astray and may cause in turn a loss of credibility in the Air Force. There are sections in public affairs. The first one is command information, which is what you would normally think of when you think of PA, which is your articles, your videos, and your photos. We tell the story through those mediums. A huge part of our job is maintaining a pulse check on our surrounding community. We use social media to see what are the different concerns, reactions, and desires and needs that the commander needs to keep in mind whenever he's going to make a new change or enact a new decision upon the community, so that we can continue to maintain that support of the community and further maintain and protect our credibility. This is a great segue to go into our next section, which is community engagement. And it does exactly what it sounds like it does. It goes out into the community. It's an outreach effort. So we not only inform the public with information, but we get out into the public. An example of this is we bring people on to the base with tours. So we do ROTC tours. We do tours of 10 people or more. We also have a civic leader program where we pair a commander at any level, so wing, squadron, and group commander, with a civic leader, which is probably like the CEO of an important company that is in the community, and it is their job to inform each other of their jobs, their missions, and how we can support them, and vice versa. And then the last that I will provide is the noise complaints. So we take in noise complaints. This is a training base, so we're gonna have a lot of neighbors that are impacted on a regular basis, and we learn between what hours and what days we have had the most noise, and we provide that to the commander. Outreach is also a huge tool in which we hear people's concerns about a new change that is being implemented out into the community. For example, we had the Nevada Test and Training Range expansion, and that impacted people because we are expanding the range that they train on. And so it was important to get Native American tribes input, get mayors, to get wildlife preservation parties input, and we gather all this information and we provide the key points to the commander so that he knows how to inform his leadership accordingly and how to press forward. We've talked about big stakeholders in the community. We've talked about everyday citizens. Let's talk about media, which is our next section. Media section especially often shines in times of an emergency, when something goes awry on base, because it is the media section that provides media training to the commander if he needs to go in for a press conference. They often put together the press releases that will be pushed out to the media POCs so that they can push it out through their various channels, and we get ahead of the narrative that way. And it is the media section that helps provide that statement that will then be approved by the PAO and for the commander as well. If the situation calls for it, the media section will stand up a media operations center, which will be on base, where we bring on different media POCs, and if we need to push out any information ASAP, they're already in that media operations center, and we can provide it to them expediently that way. However, media has has its moments of not only serious missions. For example, in the past, we've had a Captain Marvel movie filmed here, and they were the ones that escorted filming crew and walk them around the flight line, introduce them to people. They often have to vet the media and any parties that are coming onto the base, not just media, to make sure that they're approved and that they're good to go. We also have these things called media flights, where we gather different POCs from various media outlets and we put them in a KC-135, which is an aircraft, and we fly them around, show them our mission real time, where they get to have a hands-on experience of what it is like to be part of the mission. Again, we do this to maintain that support and symbiotic relationship. They are helping us echo our story, our mission, our truth. So the last section, which is not a section entirely of its own, but it's definitely a huge part of our job, is called alert photography. So we document, we capture any damage to government property, which sometimes does include our airmen. So if there was a car accident, we have to go into the scene, take pictures, which then those photos are provided to JAS and the various parties that will then take the case and move forward with it to make a decision on its final outcome. So those are the various sections of public affairs and the different missions that we take on. So why did I choose to become a public affairs officer? 3 reasons. I am a people person, I am passionate about the power of communication, and I need my crayons. Sorry, I stole that from my current PAO, but ultimately what he means by that is public affairs is something that you go into the job and you just never know what your day is going to look like. It is not black and white, and because of that, it allows for room for creativity, ingenuity to take place. But most of all, we are the ultimate listeners and we are the ultimate communicators. What does that mean? It is our job to listen to the people, to listen to their needs, to listen to the concerns of the commander, to listen to the concerns of our airmen, to listen to the concerns of our civilians, and to relay that information to the various parties so that the best outcome could take place. The biggest things that sets public affairs aside from other career fields is that it is highly strategic, because we have to know everyone's job in order to accurately and clearly communicate everyone's missions to the specific audience. Public affairs reminds the Air Force the power of the civilian community. And if you don't believe it, check your news right now. There are people taking a stand all around the country for what they believe in, to have their voices heard. And it is our job to hear them out and to communicate that so that we can act accordingly, so it never needs to get to a level of extreme circumstances. We could potentially not only have our commander coming down on us, but the community as well. We have to be highly strategic in our planning phase especially. We have to consider what are the key messages, which stakeholders need to hear it, and what avenues are the best way to communicate that message for our biggest impact. Power of public affairs is endless in the amount of impact that it can have. Think of when you're watching a play, that person that is holding the spotlight in the back, and that person determines who gets attention and at what time. That is public affairs for you in the Air Force. So the main reasons may vary, but they all point back to the same thing, and that is public affairs is trying to educate the public about the Air Force's story, our mission, and our goals, and how we are an ally to our surrounding community, so that if push comes to shove and our mission and our presence is questioned, we have those allies that we have communicated with who are able to advocate for us and further educate others about our mission and how we are here for the betterment of the community as well. This is not a one-way street. And the way that we achieve that is by letting them know that they have a voice, that their voice matters, and that we are willing to please hear them out. And that is where we come in. We remind commanders, leadership, both in the community and in the Air Force alike, how important it is that everyone's voices gets heard in some form of fashion. Crazy thing is that if we do our job correctly, no one really hears about public affairs, or no one really knows knows about public affairs mission, because our job is not self-praise. Our job is not to necessarily tell our story. It is always to be that middleman, that bridge of communicating other people's stories, other people's missions to the correct end party that needs to hear about it, because they're the ones that can do something, which is a huge reason why I also wanted to make this video, because to be honest, I didn't even know about public affairs until my commander told me about it. I didn't even know of the career field. So if this helps someone learn about this job, be better informed about a decision on what career to pick and go into in the Air Force, by all means, please be aware that public affairs is one of them, and it is a very rewarding and special career field. What are some things that I have learned at each step of my training? If you're an airman, I would definitely pick public affairs, because you get entrusted with big projects early on in your career. For example, taking pictures of events that have high vis. So if the commander or a general or the SecAF is coming onto the base, it is your job to cover that, and you will most likely meet them and get that FaceTime interaction with them. Other lessons I have learned is public affairs is in the process right now of learning how to be proactive, especially in their media section. So we're taking it upon ourselves to learn what are the different missions of each news outlet, so that we know what their target audiences are. So when we go and pitch a story to them for them to cover, we know who to pitch it to. So it is more strategic research on our part, but to get the most reward out of it for both parties involved. If you're a public affairs officer, one of the things that you should know going into the career field is that a big job, aside from everything that you have to get actual training on and get signed off on, is you should really learn how to advocate for your people, especially when it comes to awards and decorations. We're moving into an age where it's more about deterrence and information warfare. So our career field is moving into a very exciting time in this day and age, because we are essentially an information-driven career field. Just be aware that in this transition where the Air Force is understanding how important information warfare is, you need to learn how to best measure the impact of all of the work that your people are putting in, so that when it comes to putting it down on paper, it actually resonates and accurately reflects the impact that they had on whatever the project or mission was at that time, so that then they have a better chance of competing with other career fields at awards that perhaps have an easier chance of directly communicating and translating the impact of their job. This is something that I've taken away that is not just for people interested in public affairs, but this is for anyone in the military, and that is the consequences of social media. Our AFIs clearly state that whatever you post, like, or comment on social media, doesn't matter what the platform is, you can and will be held accountable to 24/7. That is because we are airmen 24/7, even if you are reserve or guard. So just be aware that the consequences of whatever you put on social media, there is no AFI that clearly states if you do this, you will get this specific punishment. It is all left to the commander's discretion. Congress gives our leadership a lot of power and room for their own judgment on how something should be addressed. So I know of an example that I provide during Right Start, that someone liked a comment that was posted about a comm commander that was not shedding him in a positive light, so he received an LOR. Again, that is worst case scenario. He just liked the comment and he received an LOR. But it could be super big in Article 15, or it could be just a slap on the wrist. You just never know. So like I said, just err on the side of caution. Also, something to keep in your mind is that just because you have a private profile does not mean that someone that does have access to your private profile or your closed group post can't take whatever you posted and then put it on a public platform so that everyone has access to it. And before you know it, because it went public or potentially viral, you are in a meeting with your commander explaining why you posted that. Thank you for tuning in today. As a disclaimer, this is not the opinion of the Air Force. That's why you will never catch me recording a video in uniform or announcing myself by my rank and my last name, because I am not speaking on behalf of the Air Force whenever I upload these videos onto my YouTube page. But if you like this video and this was informative, please give it a thumbs up, and please don't forget to subscribe. I will be uploading more videos, and thank you to all who requested this video. I promise I'm gonna do better to try to upload more often. Everyone, take care.